Welcome to Whisperwood Stories, to part 3 of The Silver Tune. Thank you for sticking around for this much of the story. I hope that you're enjoying it, and I hope you're looking forward to Halloween. Let's begin. Before creation peopled earth, its eye shall roll through chaos back, and where the farthest heaven had birth, the spirit trace its rising track. And where the future mars or makes, its glance dilate over all to be, while sun is quenched or system breaks, fixed in its own eternity. When coldness wraps this suffering clay. Paragraph 3. Lord Byron, 1815. Part 3. The doctors had managed to stabilize my mother that night, but after everything I'd seen, I couldn't quite muster relief. David came in and helped me back to the limo after that. I held my face in my hands on the way, staring at the floor. I tried to understand it all. I had answers like I wanted, but what did they mean? What was all of this? Why was this strangeness happening to me? I glanced at the paper in my hand, the name Miles West and a phone number. I had the house keys too. It was too late at night to think about any of this anyway. As I left the limo to go up to the hotel, I heard a window roll down. "When would you like to head home?" Grant said. "What do you mean?" I said, distracted. "To our family mansion. When do you want to go there, as your mother has asked?" David gave Grant an odd look. "Whenever you're ready for it, of course. Please take your time," David said. "Ask me tomorrow, but maybe we'll just go then," I said. Grant nodded, smiled, and rolled up the window. When I got back to the hotel room, I nearly fell into bed with May and Carol. I slept a little, but the rings under my eyes were definitely deeper in the morning. We got up relatively early so as to not miss breakfast. May was beaming with excitement to try the pancake machine, so I didn't try to tell anyone what had happened last night. I at least wanted May to have one more normal thing before I tried to tell the two of them about, well, whatever the hell that was. "Look, Megan, it really does make pancakes on its own," May said. She gripped the counter and watched the conveyor belt with awe. It really was a nifty little machine. "That's cool, May. They'll probably be hot, so be careful." The three of us had our breakfast in the luxurious dining room. We definitely stood out, not only because May was still in her purple pajamas, but because of my own shambling appearance, which I can only imagine was zombie-like. I'm not even kidding here. There were other children having breakfast who were in tuxedos for breakfast at a hotel. Besides the annoying stares we got, though, the food was incredible. It helped take my mind off of it all, at least for a while. The pancake machine was one of the few non-chef prepared foods. Otherwise, you simply asked what you wanted from a menu and they cooked it up, breakfast related or not. We went back up to the room later. That was when I sat the two of them down. "So, I had to go visit my mom last night, around 3 or 4, May nodded. "Oh?" Carol said. "I didn't wake you because apparently she just wanted to see me. I figured it was about the paperwork. David came by our room and picked me up. That's how May ended up in our bed." "I woke up," May said. "Our mother wants us to watch her house while she's in the hospital. She gave me the keys. We should probably go there today." "Right, I remember. Is that all, though? By the look on your face, I was worried that something bad had happened." Carol put a hand on May's shoulder. "How do you feel about going to your old house, May?" "I don't know. I guess it's okay if you two will be there," May said, but she looked worried. I nodded. "Okay then, I guess they'll just hold this hotel room for us, but for now we're going to stay at Mom's," I said. Was there anything else that happened? May asked. I tried to gear up and tell them about the weird things I had seen, but had I really seen them? What did I have? An odd smile from a nurse? People wearing the color red? I sighed. Top it all off with the fact I wasn't sleeping, and it made perfect sense. Almost. The paper in my pocket with Miles's number weighed heavily, and so did my mother's words. She did have a convulsive episode, but the doctors helped her and she's okay. What else were you thinking of? I said to May. I'm glad she's okay. I don't know what else. I had another dream while you were gone, about a man in a red suit. He told me that I was special and that I could help him, May said. Well, that's an odd dream. Carol paused and eyed me. Are you all right, Megan? Yes, I'm just... Well, Mother was acting a little odd last night. I'm sorry that you had another nightmare, May, I said. Again? May had seen the same stranger I'd been seeing. Before, I could write all of this off as stress, but this made me feel uneasy. You've seen him, haven't you? The man in the red suit, my mother had said. It was almost a nightmare, May continued. There was that scary hallway, like my dream on the plane, but the suited man said that he could stop it. He just needs my help. The suited man? I said. Yeah, that's what I call him. We stayed quiet for a time. Megan, can I tell you something else about last night? May said. I nodded. When Mr. Davy came over, he had a shadow on him. It looked almost like another person, May said. A shadow? Carol said. Something scary. I didn't like it. I've seen it hovering over Grant. A knock on the door interrupted her. I glanced at May, then walked over to look. I'm sorry, May. Hold on, it's David and Grant, I said. I let them inside, and May looked even more nervous. Hello, Magdalene. Mabel, Grant said. Your mother wishes you to consider David and myself under your employ for the time being. As you will be temporary guardians of her estate, I will assist you in what ways I can. If you have any questions or wish to begin processing the paperwork, please call on me. We also thought that we should give you this, David said. He was glancing at Grant the same way May was. David held out a credit card and I took it. This is one of the cards tied to a spending account your mom made for you a while back. Before everything. Your mother never touched it, so I don't think there's any reason you shouldn't have it while you're here, at the very least, David said. As my first order to you two, then, we'll be using cell phones. No more snail mail, I said. Grant smiled in a way I didn't like. David's friendly smile balanced it out. Fair enough. We'll leave you to it then. David turned to go, but paused. Oh, and please take your time to be comfortable. You should know that there are lots of things to do here to take your mind off it all. There's some catalogs in the lobby, and there's a great pool here. David winked, and the two left the hotel room. A credit card? How much do you think is on it? Carol said. No clue. My head spins a little at that, Carol said. You should read the will. She wants to leave me everything if she dies. Her accounts, the house, all of it. I haven't read the whole thing yet, so there's probably a signature signing my soul to the devil, but still. Carol plopped down onto the couch. What in the hell are we supposed to do with all that? She mused. Probably donate most of it. No one needs that much. And buy me 1,000,000 kids' meals. It'll be damn fine, May said. Carol looked at me. I at her, and we started laughing. May had an innocent little smile. Wasn't me, Carol said. You just had a kid's meal yesterday, I pleaded. Yeah, but Mr. Robot is getting lonely. He needs a buddy, May said. We have a potentially bottomless credit card, and May still wants to get a kid's meal, Carol said with laughter. May narrowed her eyes. What is it about the kid's meal anyway? Is it the toy? I said. It's the vibe, May said simply. The vibe, huh? I chuckled. Yeah, like, how when you go swimming and it's fun. Vibe? I know what a vibe is. I'm not that old, I said. May shrugged. Carol and I looked at each other. Oh, what were you trying to say before, May? When Grant and David came in? May's smile fell, and she wrung her hands. Do we have to go to Mom's house right away? She said. Not necessarily. What did you have in mind? I said. May perked back up. Swimming! Swimming! I've seen the pool Mr. Davy talked about. It has a playground and everything, May said. I looked at Carol. She shrugged. Could be nice, she said. Did you bring a swimsuit? I asked. She looked at me like I was stupid. You always bring a swimsuit to a hotel? Right, my bad, I chuckled. Go get ready then. Yay! May cried and ran into her room. I plopped down next to Carol. She ran a hand along my back as I held my face. Just what the hell are we gonna do? I said. I don't know. I guess we can just watch the house for a while? We're going to have to call into work, though, Carol said. They can do without us. We've never taken days off. I wasn't expecting a vacation, but this'll be nice. Carol stretched out and put an arm around me. I laid on her shoulder. Megan, you had an odd look when May talked about a guy in a suit. Is everything all right? If I told you, I'd sound crazy, I said. Oh, I'm sure we've heard worse at work, Carol said with a chuckle. Not this time. She studied me. Her tone became more serious. Megan, are you okay? I think so. I think I just need some time to process it all. I've seen a lot of odd things lately, but I haven't really been sleeping, I said. Carol was clearly worried, but nodded. Okay. Tell me when you've got it all in a row. If we need to go to the hospital, we will. May peeked out of her room. What are you two doing? Stop being lazy, Lovey, and get ready to swim. All right, Carol said, grunting as she got up. Let's check out this fancy-ass pool, huh? We got ready and went downstairs. I hadn't brought a swimsuit, though, as that possibility had been the last thing on my mind. It was all right. I didn't really feel like swimming anyway. May was only slightly saddened by this, but Carol had brought one. May skipped through the finely decorated hallways all the way there. Most people we passed were wearing dress clothes or were otherwise fancied up. Needless to say, we were all out of place. Adorable as May was, though, the usher let her push the elevator buttons. That's right, this place has elevator ushers. We passed the lobby and dining areas to enter the pool. Pool is an understatement. It was the largest fucking pool I'd ever seen. Probably bigger than some hotels in itself. It was split into two major sections. A smaller half was clearly for kids, the other for lazy-lovey adults. One end actually had a section going outside. Even the playgrounds and other equipment were colored gold and black, accented by a stone fountain with a dolphin spurting water. This was as rich as a dark chocolate cake, and made me just sick to my stomach, too. My soul would have departed if I'd known how much it cost a night here. I was surprised with how many people were here in the morning. It was mostly older folks spending time in the hot tubs. There were quite a few other screaming children, though, one of them being the kid I'd seen in a tuxedo during breakfast. It seemed that a little water-based fun made impolite fools of us all. May pulled from our hands and was off in moments. Carol looked at me, then her, and I waved her on. I'll be the towel gal, I said. You're the best, babe. Carol tossed me her pink towel and May's purple one. Once May saw that Carol was after her, she screeched in delight. They both jumped into the lazy river before anyone could tell them not to run. Can't tell us rich people what to do anyway, I muttered, and wandered off to find a seat. It was nice to sit with my arms back. I did my best to enjoy it. I watched May and Carol. They were having so much fun. I've always been so happy at how well May and Carol got along. With such an age difference between May and I, it was almost like we had our own daughter. If we were pseudo-parents, though, I couldn't help but feel that Carol was better at it than me. I watched the other guests silently enjoying the pool. They seemed envious of May's laughter. Looks like all these folks are jealous. Fun isn't something that rich people often have. The voice behind me made me pause. It almost had that bona fide cowboy twang I had only heard in movies. I looked to the side to see the man walking to my chair. He was tall, with brown hair slicked back, maybe in his late 40s. He wore a black button-up, and I'd be damned if those weren't actual cowboy boots on his feet. He watched Carol and May with a smile, then looked down to me. "Hi," I said wearily. He laughed. "Sorry for approaching you. I was just wondering if you—" "That's my wife," I interrupted, pointing to Carol. That seemed to stun him. It took him a moment to respond. "That's not what I... Damn it. Sorry, forgot my coffee this morning. I'm all amiss if I don't have it. I'll get to the point. Are you Magdalene Odlin? I'm Lenny Cathaway," he said, and held out his hand. "Hi, did you need something?" "My morning coffee, for sure," he chuckled to himself, but in seeing my straight face, he turned it into a cough. "Well, I've been looking for Margaret Odlin. I think she could be, well, in danger, to put it lightly. She used to frequent this hotel, and the front desk said that the Odlins were in attendance. You look kind of familiar, so I thought I'd check." Had news of my mother's condition already gotten around? The front desk actually told him about us? "Are you the press or something? Looking for a scoop?" I said. "No, I'm sorry if I've caused offense. Really, I'm only concerned about a potential danger. Margaret has something dangerous in her possession." "Dangerous? Like what?" "If you're not Miss Odlin, I'd rather not give details." "Shame. Hope you find her," I said. Sure. Thanks, I think." Seeming embarrassed, the man walked away. He appeared worried. Worried and scared. That more than anything made me wonder just who he could be. Why was he looking for us? Carol, holding May's hand, reached me as soon as the guy left. She didn't even have to ask, just put a hand on my back. "Just a vulture sniffing after my mother. Front desk apparently told him we were here," I said. "God, really? That was quick. I guess word gets around." I glanced back at the man as he left the pool area. "Well, you two should get back in the pool. I'm going to have a word with the front desk. Be back in a few." Carol gave me a last smile before the two headed off again. I waited sufficiently long before leaving the pool. When I did, I went out into the carpeted hall. I probably smelled like chlorine as I went up to the front desk. "Ah, Miss Odlin? How can I help you?" the teller said. "Hi, some guy just approached me saying that the front desk told him we're staying here? Gives a new meaning to the job teller, don't you think?" I said, a little frustrated. The teller swallowed. "I am not aware of any staff members giving out your information. Please allow me to investigate the matter, and I will be sure that it doesn't happen again." "Thank you." I strode off back to the pool, feeling silly. God, did I just sound like a rich asshole? I might as well have asked for a manager, I thought. "Ah, Miss Odlin, there was someone else here to see you," the teller called at my back. I stopped and turned. "Who would possibly—" I paused. I frowned. There was no one at the desk. Hell, I stood alone in the whole hallway, silent as a graveyard. I had walked far enough to be next to the dining hall, but there was no one there either. Everything was empty. "Hello?" No reply. My voice echoed. Worry rising in my stomach, I walked to the pool. I pushed at the pool doors, but they wouldn't open. The windows looking in were black. "Hello? Carol? May?" I called. That's when I heard it. I could hear something. A song. No, it was that song. It was coming from behind me. No. I turned away from the pool, but I was no longer in the hotel. The hotel hallway was replaced by a more familiar one. Colorless rugs and worn wooden wash, crumbling trim, odd paintings and withering plants. It had a sickening aura that I remembered all too well. I stared down to the other end to see the large black door with the golden moon plate in the center. My breathing quickened as the door opened a crack. Long fingers reached around the edge of the door and pushed it further. An arm extended from the shadows. I could see 2 fingers turning the crank of the music box. "What do you want from me?" I said, my voice shaking. "You know what we want." A new voice. Not like that thing from my nightmares, but human. Normal. Someone appeared ahead of me. Leaning against where the front desk had been was a gentleman in a red suit. His skin was pale and gray. His eyes were a sunken black. He smiled, perfect teeth. "Hello, Magdalene. I'm so glad that we could finally speak. I talked to your sister just the other night, and I was saddened to see you absent. You surprised me." I said nothing. "Cat got your tongue." "Very well. I will explain for you." He appeared next to me and gestured to the thing playing the music box. "Horrifying to you or not, I can assure you that that entity behind that door is just a living thing like you. These nightmares of yours? Just cause and effect of your mother's foolish deeds. If you release it, allow it to live its life, you can free your mind of it all and mourn your mother's condition." In the room, at the end of the hall, I saw bare glints of the eye-embossed wings shift their attention onto me. "Release it?" I said. "Yes, the right thing to do. Your nightmares will be gone from you and your sister. You will never be harmed again. Your mother might even recover. All you have to do is..." The man leaned close. "Choose." I stared at the thing inside that room. It had stopped turning the crank to watch us, but the song continued. The suited man's eyes burned as he waited for my response. "You'd leave us alone? Forever?" I said. The suited man nodded. "Forever and forevermore." "How would I do it?" I said. "There is no specific ritual. All you have to do is will it. Focus your intent, and your will be done. Simple as a dark chocolate cake." I was tired. Not just literally, but in all senses. Tired of my mother. Tired of the nightmares and of May being alone. Tired. That's why I reached for the golden door handle. The door came closer to me as if reaching for my touch in turn. The door was partly open, so I had to reach into the room, towards that thing. My arm faded to a dead gray as I did. The countless eyes on the monster's wings blinked. "Good. You will not regret your decision." A creaking limb reached for me. That was when a purple butterfly drifted past my face. It glowed with a gentle light. My skin returned to its normal color as the butterfly landed on me. I felt myself awaken. What was I doing? I was helping it? No, this was wrong. A small hand reached forward, grasping mine, and slammed the door shut on that thing. The suited man's grin cracked. "Go to hell," May said. Countless purple butterflies fluttered from her and landed on the suited man. I heard a scream, or at least, that's the best thing I can call it. It echoed from both the monster and the suited man. It was an inhuman shriek that seemed to shake the world until suddenly, it stopped. I blinked. I was back in the hotel hallway. Several people were staring at me. I was holding the handle to a supply closet. A janitor at their cart nearby watched curiously. May had a hold on my hand still, but she was breathing quickly as if she had run a mile. Her arm looked pale. "Are you okay? Did the suited man get you?" May said. I let go of the door handle. "No, May. Sorry. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. I won't let them get you, like I said," she said. I felt my face flush as I glanced at the onlookers. Carol came up to us. "May, there you are." "Megan? Where have you been? You never came back from talking to the front desk. Have you been here the whole time?" I don't know," I said. Carol glanced at everyone watching and led us away. "Come on, let's get out of here," Carol said. "Seems like we're not too welcome here." "Maybe we should go to Mom's now," May said. I swallowed and nodded. "Let's pack our things then. I think it's time to go." We went up to our hotel room afterwards and packed up just as dinner started. We ate a little at the hotel, but after the continued looks we got, we went to David early. He pulled up the limo right away and our luggage was packed in. Grant wasn't there, as he had apparently gone ahead of us to ready the house. That was fine by me. May was relieved too. Carol was worried about me, I could tell. She was supporting me as much as she could, but she needed answers, deserved them. I wished that I could have mustered the courage to give them to her earlier. I could only imagine what I would do were the position switched. "Oh, you're having nightmares that leak into reality? Seeing weird stuff? Don't worry, honey. I'm just going to call some nice men in white coats. They'll take care of you." Yeah, right. Still, I had to tell her something. And soon. My mother's mansion is on the outskirts of the city in some woods. It used to be very far from everything, but now it was just a bit of a drive. While May was distracted with her Nintendo Switch on the other side of the limo, Carol leaned close. "Are you okay? You looked like you weren't quite with us at the hotel," Carol whispered. "I've been trying to figure that out myself," I said. This was her kind way of trying to broach the subject. "Okay, I'll tell her." "Are you okay right now?" Carol said. I smiled. "Yeah, I think so. It's just stressful." "Do you remember that dream May told us about? The one with the man in red? The one we had on the plane too, and the one I had before that even," I said. Carol nodded. "Well, you're going to think I'm crazy," I said. "What do you mean? You're already crazy," Carol said. I gave her a gentle shove. "Okay, I'll try my best to tell you. Here goes. Remember how my nightmare is always of that same hallway? That hallway is actually a place in my mother's house." "Megan, I'm sorry. We don't have to go back to your mother's house yet if it's hard for you to be there," Carol said. "It's okay. We should go back. Face your fears and all that, right? Anyway, something I didn't say about my dream on the plane is that it changed that time. Instead of ending when I reached the black door opened. There was a horrible monster inside. It played that song from the clock on a music box. I'm so sorry. You've been through a lot, Carol said. It's okay. Remember when you asked about that guy in a suit? I've been seeing that figure on and off, catching him out of the corner of my eye, everywhere. It's always someone dressed in red. So when I went to see my mother last night, there was this man, just like May talked about. Red suit, pale. He was standing at my mother's bedside. That's why I was so upset when she asked about a man in red. I thought it had to have been a hallucination or something, but after May saw him too? What does it mean? Is this where the hotel came in? Carol asked. Yeah, I talked to the front desk and everyone just disappeared suddenly. The hotel hallway turned into my nightmare hall. This red suit man told me to free the monster in the door, and it would leave us alone. Both times, the plane and the hotel. I think it was May that saved me somehow. I shrunk into myself, waiting for Carol to call me insane, demand David turn around and bring us to the hospital. Carol watched me for a moment before speaking. Okay, that all does sound a little crazy, but just a little, and I believe you. You wouldn't lie, she said. Carol, I'm starting to get scared. Carol seemed at a loss. I could always come to her with a problem. She could always see it with a level head. But now, she seemed unsure. Well, I'm just glad you're okay, she said. We'll figure out this monster thing together, all right? All right. Something tells me that you're feeling done talking about it. Let's just focus on getting settled in. We sat back and enjoyed the ride as much as we could. Carol even had another glass of wine. I took one too. We eventually rode in silence. The drive was long, took us later into the evening. Carol had apparently worn herself out and was napping. We all had a long day. My glass of wine from earlier had just turned into a headache. I was watching the light of the last street lamps roll through the interior when May scooted over to me. I felt her tug on my sleeve as she clicked in her new seatbelt. I was jolted from my half-days. Megan? Hey, yeah? What's up, sis? She was cradling her robot nervously. It took her a moment to gain the courage to speak. I didn't say everything back at the hotel. What do I do if I keep hearing the music? It's like the song the clock makes at home. Music? I asked as my heart sank. Yeah, that one song. Right, I interrupted. That one. When are you hearing it? Whenever the suited man is near. Sometimes when Grant is near. There's something different about him. I've noticed too. Maybe I should talk to David about it. You've been seeing the suited man too, right, Megan? Yeah, May. I have. I don't really know what's going on here, but I think you saved me from him at the hotel. Thank you. Of course. I'll always save you, May said. But Megan, what do we do? I pulled the card from my pocket. Miles West, it read, with the phone number below. What's that? May asked. Someone who can help us with the suited man. I hope. I just have to call them. I stared at the card for a moment, then put it away. I rubbed my eyes. I was so tired. I'll call them when we get to Mom's, I said. It's probably for the best. We're all too tired, May said. You've got that right, sis. How was the pool? She smiled. So much fun. Thank you for letting us go. You're welcome, May. It only took a while longer for my mom's property to finally come into view. May eventually fell asleep against my shoulder. I couldn't sleep despite my tiredness. I just watched the trees as they passed. Then my mother's house came into view. It was a mansion in every traditional sense. Like everything else my mother liked, it was accented in gold and straight out of Victorian times. It goes back to our English roots, she always said. The house had one central tower that all of the other towers formed around. The central tower had a window of tinted glass depicting a flowery scene of nature. It had a large porch and brick canopy that hung over the driveway. If I remember right, it was 17,000 square feet or something crazy like that. 3 floors and a basement added later, 15 rooms and an excess of gaudy interior design. The front yard was at least 2 acres of carefully kept gardens. The backyard was essentially an outdoor ballroom. Fountains, flowers, brick roads, and even a little church that was probably used for Christian practices back in the day. David rolled down the dividing window. Everyone still asleep back there? He said. Just 2 out of 3. I saw his smile in the rear view. Grant called ahead and said that the bedrooms are ready for you. Will you be taking your mother's room? Grant suggested it. I shivered at the thought. There was an odd sort of feeling telling me not to. I wasn't quite sure why I had that reaction, but I listened. No, I think one of the others will be fine. Maybe the one across from my old room? Then May can have that one. David nodded. The limo coasted along the driveway until we made it to the front of the house. The building loomed over us, the tower's windows acting as judging eyes. I woke everyone up. 3 other employees of my mother came from inside to take our luggage, directed by Grant. I sent May and Carol inside to follow Grant to their rooms. David handed me another master key for the house. I made the decision right there. I wanted to tell him. "David, can I talk to you for a second?" I asked. "Of course, Megan. Is everything all right?" We paused as Grant passed us with May and Carol. "That, right there. Something is different with Grant. You've seen it too, right?" David looked uncomfortable and nodded. "It started about a week before you flew out here," he said. "Odd hours, odd manners, and so on. I thought nothing of it until recently. He even talks differently somehow." "Do you remember when you came by this morning to get me from the hotel? When my mother wanted to see me? Was I acting odd?" David thought for a moment. "You greeted Grant when I entered even though he wasn't there. I thought that it was a joke," he said. My stomach knotted up at that. "I really did see him there, David. May saw something too. She said something like, a shadow over Davy's shoulder." He didn't seem too surprised. "There have been odd circumstances around your mother's illness. Megan, do you know what's going on here?" David said. "There is something odd going on, David." I gave him a brief rundown of what had been happening. He looked more and more perturbed at my descriptions. "Okay, I believe you." That was a bit of a relief. I had always been able to trust David. He continued. "Do you think that Grant has something to do with all of this then? He's worked for your mother for so long, I don't see why he would do anything adverse." "Right, I agree. Can you just help me keep an eye on him until we know for sure?" "Of course, Megan. I'm sorry that all this has been happening to you. If something strange might happen here at the house, should we dismiss all but Grant and I?" "Yeah, have them take a paid vacation," I said. "I'll see to it. I hope you sleep well." "Thanks, you too." The two of us walked inside together. I was greeted by the grand entryway. A center staircase led up to the 2nd and 3rd floor. A dangerously large chandelier hung on the ceiling far above us, held by an old-fashioned pulley on the wall. Not much had changed here in 5 years. There was a great portrait, too, hanging on the first landing. I think it was my triple great-grandparents and their children. All of their painted faces had heavy scowls. I was uncomfortable here. I went off to bed right away, trying not to think about where I was. I walked up the stairs, past countless decorations, paintings, and potted plants in seasonal perfection. I thought of the hallway on the 3rd floor, the hallway that was the center of my recent nightmares. It was only 1 floor up. Maybe if I saw that it was just a hallway, the door at the end just some storage closet, I'd be able to exist here. Not tonight, though. Confronting my demons is a tomorrow thing, I thought. The rooms were just like I remembered them. The one Carol and I would be in, despite being one of the smaller rooms, was bigger than some of the studio apartments I'd stayed in. Every inch of furniture and wall was inlaid with filigree. Our luggage had been packed into the rooms. Carol was unpacking inside and looked up as I entered. "Hey, Megan." "Hey. How long do you think we'll have to stay here?" "I'm not sure if I have enough clothes for more than a few days," Carol said. "I don't think I can entertain my mom for too long. If something comes up before then, you and May can just go back alone. I can do some of my work on my laptop here." "They don't have internet here though, right?" "Well, I have my phone hotspot. It should be able to handle it," I said. "Sounds good. We'll figure it out." Carol jumped onto the mattress. "Oh, this is cozy. It's like quicksand in this thing." "I wouldn't be surprised if they're all brand new," I said. Carol reached over the edge and pulled out a remote. "No way, look, it's one of those adjustable things. Even has that binaural vibration or whatever." I heard a low hum as it turned on, and Carol closed her eyes. I shook my head, got into my pajamas, and laid next to her. Despite the comfort, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Was there someone in that corner? No, it was just a shadowed coat rack. What was that thing staring at me on the dresser? Oh wow, okay, it's a porcelain doll. That's actually creepy. I frowned and cozied up to Carol. I told David about everything. He's going to help us keep an eye out. Carol nodded. Do you think you'll be okay to sleep tonight? She said. With a remote-controlled mattress? How could I not? Carol chuckled and we sat there for a while. You can probably guess, but I couldn't sleep. I glanced at my day clothes, the pocket of which contained the phone number for Miles. My brain just kept pointing to it, telling me to get up and call. If you'll actually let me sleep, I will, I thought. I got up and went out into the hall. It was creepy as shit at night, but I didn't want to wake Carol. It took me a moment to dial the number, but soon the phone rang and rang in my ear. I heard a click under the static before it finally picked up. Neither of us said anything for a moment. How did you get this number? A gravelly voice said. Yeah, hi. I'm Megan, or actually legally known as Magdalene Odlin. I bit my lip. We need your help. You're Miles? Margaret Odlin is your mother. Yeah. She was hospitalized. Is she dead? No, but she's really sick with something odd, I said. The voice cursed. I warned her, but she wouldn't listen to me. She never was good at that. I'm guessing my associate found you, told you to call? Who? No, my mother gave me this number when she was briefly herself earlier. Fine. Tell me what's happened. I relayed my experience for the third time. At least I can say it was getting easier. I went over the nightmares, the music box, the hallway, hallucinations, the hospital that night. She wants us to watch her house. We're here now. Wait, you already went back? And this hallway is in the house you're staying in? Miles interrupted. Yeah, is that a problem? Could be the biggest problem of your life. Whatever you do, do not go up there. Got it? I'd prefer it if we met up first, but it's too late now. You can't leave until this is settled. I heard another voice in the background, feminine. And whose fault is that? They said. Miles didn't reply. I continued. My sister has been having the same nightmares I've been having. Now a man in a red suit showed up. May calls it the suited man? I don't really understand what... Stop. The voice interrupted again. A humanoid in a red suit? Yeah, he keeps showing up. He keeps telling us to release the monster behind the door. The music box from the museum, he mumbled. It's from a museum? I said. Yes. It's something she got at a private auction. A museum that never opened. It shut down and sold its holdings to the upper class. Tell me more about the music. Okay, well, it's something I remember a lot. We had a grandfather clock that played it, and now the music box plays it too. My sister has been hearing the music lately. Sourceless. I waited, but Miles said nothing. Okay, with all due respect, sir, I've been giving plenty here, I said. If you knew my mother somehow, can you give up some details? Who are you? How did you know my mother? He sighed. It's not safe over the phone. Some of these monsters can use the phones. You've said enough. I'll meet with you. If you're having nightmares and you're already home, then it's already begun. My associate will come ahead of me tomorrow. And look, now's the time to gather the people you trust. Make sure anyone who could be affected by this is either out of the way or in the know. Got it? Fine. Fine, he returned. There was a click as he hung up. I pulled my phone away from my face and took a glance at it. Okay then, I muttered. I headed back to our room. Carol was sitting up. Hey babe, nightmares? She said, stretching. No, I called that Miles guy I told you about. The number my mom gave me, I couldn't stop thinking about it. He's going to come by and help us with all of this. He knows about our situation. There might be some real monsters here. Carol tried to hide her fear. When will he get here? I don't know. He said his associate will come ahead of him tomorrow, I said. All right. Well, come and try and get some sleep then. I nodded and walked over. Eventually, I knew I was asleep when it felt like the world was floating. I don't know how long it took. The dream I had that night, well, I had one all right. I should have known what it meant. I wished I had. Whatever was in the house was waking up. They're home. The song. These voices whispered throughout my sleep. Have you ever had a dream where the space around you felt infinitely vast yet contained to where you slept? I know it doesn't make any sense to say it aloud, but it's how I felt. It was like I could sense the house as a living thing, and it could sense me. Dark and shifting shadows danced. The voices whispered to each other, and I heard them passing word ear to ear. Something here had been waiting for us. Something here was waking up.
Sweetling has come. Come closer, little bird. Where are you?
My eyes opened and I glanced at my phone. That's where the last voice had come from, I was sure of it. I checked the lock screen, no notifications at all. It was still dark when I awoke. Not pitch black, but just before sunrise. Had I really slept that long? Despite my confusion, it was nice to get some sleep. It wasn't quite enough, but it was a start. I had maybe 2 hours before Mayor Carroll woke up, so I got dressed and wandered the house. I stayed away from the 3rd floor, but familiarized myself with the rest. I remember it all. Some places fondly, some not so much. As I walked down the 2nd floor halls, I soon realized that I was close to my mother's room. I didn't like being this close for some reason, but I gathered the courage to glance towards it. Her room was up a small staircase that was still on the 2nd floor. She even had her own private hallway with it. My mother's door laid ahead, ornate wood carved with intricate designs. It seemed sinister somehow. It felt like some kind of force was urging me back. Screw it. I'm tired of being scared, I muttered. I walked up and frowned when I pulled the handle. It was locked. Even when I tried the keys, it wouldn't budge. So much for the master key, I mumbled. A wonderful smell wafting through the halls distracted me. I knew it right away. It was a fresh breakfast. It summoned me down to the 1st floor kitchen as surely as a siren song. David and Grant were always quite the dual chefs. The kitchen was pristine, white, and beautifully decorated. It was one of the few places my mother had left for David and Grant to decorate. Several types of plants were placed about, copper pans and utensils hung, and colored glass let the sunrise inside. There was also a dining table here with 8 chairs. Morning, David, I said as I walked in. He nearly jumped out of his apron. My, you got me good, Megan. How are you this morning? He said. I am all right, actually. I managed to get some sleep last night. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I thought we'd do May's favorite this morning. Fancy breakfast. Thanks. She'll love it for sure. Where's Grant? He always used to help you in the kitchen. I'm not sure where he went, honestly, but I have something to tell you there. He glanced around as I stepped up. Last night I found him at your mother's bedroom door, staring at it all off-like. I asked him what he was doing, and he simply turned, gave some excuse, and left. I didn't like the look in his eye. I thought you should know. I tried the master key on my mother's room just now. It wouldn't open. David checked the oven. That is odd. Perhaps we should investigate that later today. That reminds me. He has had an odd obsession with the room since your mother was hospitalized. He has made sure that he was the one that kept it up. Megan? Mr. Davy? I looked towards the entrance. Oh, hey May, I said. Why are you up so early? She raised an eyebrow. I know. I'm up and all, but you usually sleep more than I do, I said. Bad dream. About upstairs, she said. Good morning, Miss May. Grab a chair. I have a fancy breakfast for you. That brought a bright smile to May's face. David brought us silver platters filled with amazing food. For me, freshly peeled and crispy hash browns, a 6-ounce New York strip, 2 over-easy eggs, and a colorful garden salad. May's favorite was 2 buttermilk waffles with orange blossom honey, crispy bacon, and scrambled eggs, plus an apple juice. Carol joined us soon after and was stunned into reverence. "Can I have a fancy floof?" May asked. David smiled and gently lowered 2 curled orange slices and fanned spinach. "Yay! Fancy breakfast!" May said. "Jesus, you have a family crest pressed into the waffles?" Carol said. "Just a little joke of Grant's and mine," David said. Needless to say, we all dug in. David too. It was incredible, simply said. I don't miss anything else about this life, but I'll admit that David's cooking will forever hold a place in my heart. "Thank you so much," I said with a mouthful. "Of course, if this is a good time for breakfast, I'll keep starting it when I did. Lunch at noon and dinner at 5. Sound fair?" David said. "Sounds good to me," I said. There was an echoing, overdramatic chime down the hall. I rolled my eyes. "Is that the doorbell?" Carol chuckled. "Yep, I'll get it," I said. "Can I help in the garden?" May said to David as I left. "There are some leaves to rake out front. We could make a pile to jump in. We'll have to do it before it rains," David said. His voice trailed off as I went down the hall. When I got to the door, I found Grant there. He was opening the door when I arrived. "Hey, are you one of the Oddlands? It's me, Lenny," the person at the door said to Grant. It was that guy with the southern drawl, carrying a suitcase. I stepped up. "Thanks, I have it from here, Grant," I said. Grant released the door with an odd look on his face. "Miss, good to see you again," Lenny said. "Did you follow us here from the hotel? Are you really that desperate for a front page?" "No, I wouldn't dream of it. I think we got off on the wrong foot earlier." I began to close the door and he stopped it. "Wait, all right, okay. I was sent here by a mutual friend of ours, Miles West." I studied him for a moment. "Do you mind if I check? Give him a call?" I pulled out my phone. "He's not going to pick up," Lenny said. "He changes his number every time someone calls, even once. But yeah, go ahead." Sure enough, I got that message. "We're sorry. The number you've dialed is either unavailable or is no longer connected. Please hang up and try again." "No offense, but how can I trust you then? You want me to just let you in?" "That would be lovely. Whatever's cooking smells fantastic," he said. "But sure, Miles is on his way, but he won't be here until tomorrow. He told me about the nightmares, the music box, your mother's condition, and the other odd things. There, that do it for you?" "All right. Fine, come in," I said. "Grant, could you—" "Grant?" I looked around. Grant was gone. "Where'd that other feller go?" Lenny said. When I said nothing, Lenny continued. "Anyway, so you really are Magdalene Oddland?" "Megan," I said. Lenny gawked at the lobby. "Oh, sorry. Miles said you were a rich family, but holy hell, I had no clue. I had a friend that worked at a museum. Oh, sorry, I guess I shouldn't swear in front of a lady." "Trust me, swearing is the last fucking thing you should worry about. Is this why you asked after us at the hotel?" "It was on Miles' instructions. We've been hunting for something for a while. Your suited man. You've seen him, right?" "Yes." "Who were we? Are you part of a group or something?" I said. "Sort of. We're not exactly formal enough to have company tracksuits and golf trips, but sure, you could say that." "And what does all this have to do with us? Why is this thing haunting us or whatever?" Lenny glanced down towards the kitchen. "Look, I'd love to get into all of it right now, but really, would it be all right if I had some breakfast? I haven't eaten since we met at the hotel. They didn't appreciate the food I stole," he said. I sighed. "Fine, but you're going to explain, got it?" He held up his hands defensively. "I promise." We walked into the kitchen. Carol and David glanced at Lenny. May was gone. "Could you fix him a plate before you go outside, David? He's a guest that could help with our predicament," I said. "Sure, Megan," David said. "Hey, isn't that the guy that was creeping on you at the pool?" Carol said. Lenny looked like he might run when Carol got up. He was, but he was actually genuine. It's fine. He's a friend of Miles. Remember that phone call I told you about? This is the associate. Right, Carol said and sat. Lenny walked past Carol like a puppy past a cat, and sat down as David set him a plate. Thanks, I really do appreciate it, he said. Carol walked me into the hall. So this is the associate, huh? She said. Yep, seems like it. He started rattling off about Miles before I even said anything. I'll keep an eye on him for good measure. How was your sleep? Carol said. Not too bad, actually. I managed to get more than I have in a little while. I had an odd dream, though. The hallway? Carol said. No, this time it was kind of strange. It was sort of about the whole house. I thought I heard something from my phone. That's what woke me up earlier. Huh. Well, let me know if anything else happens. Oh, that was a fine meal. Thank you kindly, Chef, Lenny said in the kitchen. Holy shit. He was hungry. That was like 5 minutes, I said. Lenny walked out into the hallway as David did. Lenny, this is Carol and David. Pleasure to meet you. He shook their hands. Sorry if you thought I was being creepy at the pool. With everything going on, Miles and I didn't want to wait to find you. Hello, sir. I hope that you really can help us, David said. Howdy to meet. I mean, nice to meet you, sir, Carol said. That's a good one, Lenny said with a fragile smile. So anyway, which room is mine? Excuse me? I said. If Miles and I are going to help you solve your little problem, we'll need to stay here. Who knows when shit could go down? Oh, sorry. Pardon my language. Carol stepped up. Okay, Texas. You want to help us? You need to stay here? Fine. But I want you to know that my girl has been through hell. So if there's even a second you give me to not trust you, I'll throw you onto the curb from the 3rd floor. Capiche? Lenny swallowed. All right. Look, I know things must have you on edge, and we got off on the wrong foot and all. I'm sorry if I was brash. No, I'm sorry. You're right. We're being a little intense, I said. It's not a problem. You're more sane about this than anyone I've seen. Truth is, I've dealt with these monsters before. One actually killed my friend John. You've seen these things before? Do they always look like flesh monsters dumped from Cthulhu's asshole? I said. Sure, that's an interesting way of putting it. Seen a few before, actually. Seen what they can do to someone, too. Each one's unique, but there's usually long limbs involved, a face with no eyes, patchwork skin, whatever. Crawls at you like something that'd make Satan shit his loincloth. That's like what I saw in my nightmare on the plane, I said. You saw Satan's loincloth? Carol chuckled, and saw our expressions. She paused. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to imagine that these monsters are actually real. Humor is my coping mechanism. Lenny glanced at David. It's okay. He knows, I said. Right. My friend Joan, Lenny began with a nod. We were on the police force together. We made a big arrest. It was actually Miles we arrested, believe it or not. That's kind of how this started. John was going to retire, but the company Miles worked for offered him a job instead. So he took it and worked at a museum as a night guard. Job was shady as hell. I tried to talk him out of it at one point. Think I did too. He just wanted to give it one last night to think it over. All it took was that one night. One of these things was in the museum. That thing killed him and others working there, and it took over John's body, Lenny said. Took over his body? Why? I said. David was disturbed, trying to put something together in his head. Who knows with these monsters, Lenny said. Something like this would make the news for certain, wouldn't it? Carol said, genuine fear on her face. If she was afraid, this was real. That's where they come in. The people that started it all, Lenny said. Who? I said. That's just it. Not even Miles or I know their real names. They run all their ops through some nameless company. Oh, sure, they're legally filed under certain things, but all of their companies are a funnel for one secret project. Most assholes that work for them just call them headquarters. They're real careful about who knows what. They started it all with this dig in a cave in Italy to document ruins or something. That somehow released these things into the world.
If they're so careful, how do you know about it? Carol asked.
I don't know, Lenny said. Maybe they're sloppy. Maybe they want us to know what we do.
Carol and I exchanged a glance.
Yep, Lenny continued. You two have the same look on your face as John did when I told him. But I promise you, it's all real.
I don't even know what to say. I don't want to believe you, but after my dreams, I trailed off.
You've seen them. You can't help but believe. Can you tell me more about those nightmares? It might give us a clue where your suited man is hiding, Lenny said.
Okay. I dream about a hallway. It's one on the 3rd floor of this house. The door at the end of this hall is the only one down the whole thing, and it's black. It has a golden plate shaped like a moon. One of those things is inside, playing a music box. It's been asking me to release it.
Everyone needs to stay away from that hallway, Lenny said. Even if that's the focus, it could be somewhere else in the house, though. As long as we stay away, we should be safe until Miles gets here, Lenny said.
Should be? Carol said.
I can't really promise. How these things work is still unknown in some ways. We've never heard of one being bound to a music box before, but Miles said capturing this particular one is important. It's some kind of leader to them.
How are you going to help us? I said.
I know a few things, but Miles is the real expert here. I'll do my best to keep you safe until he arrives. Just stay away from the 3rd floor, Lenny said. We'll figure it out. Just keep everyone accounted for and we'll be fine. So, where am I staying?
Right, I said.
We led him to a room in the same hall as ours, just a few doors down.
He seemed quite pleased and impressed.
I'll just get settled then, if you don't mind. It'll just be a little while. Oh, and here's my number in case anyone needs to reach me.
Thanks. We'll see you around, I guess. Lunch at noon, dinner's at 5, I said.
I'll be outside raking leaves, David said. We nodded. Sure thing, and thanks for breakfast, too. My friend Johnny would have loved it, though he would have had to take the onions out, he said, and closed the door. Carol and I went towards our room. We sat inside for a while.
So, what's today's plan? Carol said. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll walk you around the house a little?
Minus the 3rd floor,
Carol said. Minus the 3rd floor, I agreed. May and I have a lot of stories for you, I'm sure. Speaking of May, did she go help David with the leaves? I think so, Carol said. Okay, I can still give you a tour then. Wanna wait for me in the lobby? I'll catch up. I've just gotta find my jacket, I said.
Carol nodded and left the room.
I looked through my suitcase, but couldn't find my jacket. The night we had packed everything was pretty chaotic. It might have gotten lost or put in someone else's stuff. I checked Carol's stuff, nothing. I shrugged and went to find Carol. It wasn't too chilly anyway. As I left, I went down the hallway. I looked out of the windows. I could see that David had begun raking autumn leaves in the central garden. I smiled. That sight alone brought back a lot of memories. Too many memories, really. My smile fell. I looked around the yard. Where was May? I didn't see her anywhere. I frowned and pulled out my phone. No messages or anything. I knocked on May's door. May? How are you doing? No answer. I opened the door a crack. May? Are you in here? Nothing. I opened the door the rest of the way. My old room was exactly how I had left it. My mom had even left my pink Barbie duvet on the bed. Besides May's tornado of clothes pulled from her suitcase, it was all the same. I walked in. Her jacket was still on the bed. I checked the bathroom, the bedroom, and the walk-in closet. May was nowhere to be seen. I texted her. Waited and got no response. I was getting worried. I called her, but all I heard was, "You have reached the voicemail of, May Odlin, superhero extraordinary." I hung up and went down the hall. I leaned over the railing overlooking the foyer. "Hey, Carol, have you seen May?" I said, voice echoing. She looked up. "Isn't she outside?" I shook my head. "I don't see her. I called, texted, checked her room, nothing. I'll go ask David. Don't worry, we'll find her. This place is big enough to lose sight," Carol said with a smile. That helped a little. "May?" I called as I walked the second floor. I checked each bedroom, bathroom, observatory, interior garden, kitchen, and even a drawing room. She was nowhere to be seen. Where would she go? I muttered. My mind raced across a mental map of the house. Maybe Mom's room? Could have wanted to sneak in there while Mom's gone. I was headed that way anyway. I figured I'd just pass it and see if it was closed. Oddly, though, the door was partly open. I walked over quietly. I glanced into my mom's room, the master bedroom. Bed bigger than a pool, and a single room bigger than our townhome. Eloquent, well-dressed, and dark. From what I could see, everything looked to be in shambles. Pots knocked over, paintings askew, furniture toppled. "May?" The name echoed for a moment, then silence fell. The quiet closed around me like darkness on a dying candle. I felt it wrapping around every corner here, peeking out from every half-seen room I had already checked. I had intruded on something. I could feel it, a dark pressure like nothing I felt before. My blood froze when I heard it. It was louder than anything I'd ever heard before, yet barely audible at the same time. I heard something drip from above my mother's bed. It was a dark, viscous liquid. Another drop fell in rhythm. I looked up. Something rested in the shadows of the ceiling where the drops were coming from. I don't know how I hadn't heard it before, but it was wheezing. It was whispering one line in a voice almost human.
Who's in front? Who's in front?
It stopped suddenly with an animal snort. Something like a head flashed upright to stare at me. There was a glint of something that might have been eyes, thin strands of hair draped over its face. I wanted to move. I wanted to scream and run, but I couldn't. I just stared at that thing and squeezed the doorknob to my mother's room. My hand shook as I and that thing stared at each other. My phone emitted a sound from my pocket. It carried a strange residue as the speaker said,
Are you a sweetling here all alone just for me? Hungry, starving.
The thing sniffed the air and crept across the ceiling towards me. "Run! Run, you idiot!" I yelled in my head, but I couldn't move. The closer it came to the hall, the less shadowed it was. I saw that the thing really did have eyes, but there was a strange film over them. That dark liquid dripped from its mouth. The thing dropped to the floor with a heavy thump. It had to have been at least 7 feet tall, but it grew taller. Its head stretched up like a fleshy periscope. A long smile of sharp teeth grew and grew as it focused on me. My phone echoed again.
It is the sweetling. Too long. Eternity. I'm hungry.
Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories.
If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below, and tune in for the finale of Silvertoon. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The story in this video was read with, well, the author's permission, which is me still, but who knows. Thank you to Same New Rhythm for making the custom music box tune for me and this outro. Be sure to check below where I'll post the story on Reddit too. Want to support me? Check the link below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close. Good night.